There's a space that all my employees seems to have an aversion to.
We were actually the site of the first city jail.
I heard somebody coming down the last 2 steps.
It definitely caught a silhouette on the stair landings.
The feeling I'm getting is there is a way that things are done.
There 100% of the time. You know, like other stuff to do, kind of thing. There's a flow on the stairs.
So what?
There's a flow. It's like it's fluid, you know? I don't know how to.
And yeah,
But then I get here.
EMF readings here have not, they haven't really done anything.
Yeah. Say, I know it's darker over there by a shadow, like natural shadow, but like,
Yeah.
like I'm actually like getting a headache, like being in here. It's that kind of oppressive. Maybe I'm getting 2 energies. Like there's one that wants to say something and the other one's like no. Like it's like a very.
Mother and a child, maybe?
One is older. I'm getting feminine from both, but not a child, like a teen, an older teen. But it's very much a, I'd like to say something, no.
Yeah.
I'd like to say something, no. Nurses, no. Like it's just, nurses, no. Like it's just, it's almost like replaying. And I think that tension, that energy, that kind of, and I think that tension, that energy, that kind of, you know, over time is just sort of. Yeah, when we come back here, we'll talk more.
Yeah.
Yeah, when we come back here, we'll talk more.
Yeah.
I am Christine Ingram, the Director of Programs and Events here at the Burgwin-Wright House and the lead interpreter. I have been here either volunteering or working for 6 years now.
I'm Christine Lamberton. I'm the director of the Burgwin-Wright House. I became director in 2013 when we were a small staff of 2, like today, but I was the only full-time person, and I would be here as early as, 8 in the morning till late in the evening.
Some of the history of the house, just kind of a general background, is we were actually the site of the first city jail, and we have 2 acres surrounding the house and 3 structures that date back to the 1744 jail. And then in 1760, the property was abandoned by the city and purchased by a wealthy businessman. And in 1770, he completed his business home, his townhome, on top of what was remaining of the jail structure. And so we have this very grand, large-scale townhome. By today's standards, it's, maybe not all that impressive, but for their standards at that time, it was absolutely the largest and grandest home here in Wilmington. It's a absolutely stunning home. We have taken very good care of it, and it's had a complete restoration project in 2018 that redid the floors and took us back to the original paint colors. And we were able to get the furnishings kind of back to a more appropriate placement.
there's a space that all my employees, all my staff members seems to have an aversion to, including myself. It's really important here that we give balanced tours. We give due attention to other space when we're giving tours. And the one space that I always come and check is the master bedroom. You know, what is your favorite space in the house? They tell me their favorite room. What is your least favorite? And that's the room that always comes. And they can never explain exactly what it is. It's just an energy or a feeling that's just uncomfortable. Nobody can pinpoint what that energy is and why it makes them uncomfortable, because the interpretation is interesting. We were renovating the downstairs visitor center. My office was behind the master bedroom door that leads to our back offices temporarily. My staff member was on tour. I could hear her. But then I heard that door open and somebody walk across the threshold from the museum space to the office space. And I instantly turned my chair around to address them because I thought maybe something had happened on tour. She needed me. And nobody was there. And come to find out, speaking to an intern who had spent a semester in that office, it happened to her regularly. And she could never explain why the door would open and why nobody was there.
In a perfect location.
Nice.
So
Do a different discussion. We'll talk about maps.
Whatever works.
Sounds good. All right, so we are now in the master bedroom, and this actually I was giving a tour just about 2 months ago to a couple of women who walked in, and the first thing they said is, "Who's sitting in that chair?" And something we get very often are people who have been on a ghost tour here in Wilmington. They'll come into this room and they're like, "I saw somebody at that window. I took pictures of somebody at that window there." And so we do have, this is really our kind of general space that nobody really feels all that comfortable in. And while I personally have not seen anything, I definitely am not comfortable standing in this space for a long period of time. I get goosebumps, I get the sweats a little bit. So, but this is just not really a happy, comfortable space for us. So.
something that the four of us talked about before any of this started was how strong simple suggestion can be, how people can be so easily primed. And I'm so glad that I walked through the house prior to learning more about the history, because if I had been told that a man was in this room, I likely would have thought that the female presence that I felt from before was a man. However, I think it goes to show that she was just a very strong, feminine presence, stronger than maybe what would have been attributed to her day or what would have been expected for her time. Now, it's possible that maybe I was picking up on her and the guy and she kind of overshadowed him. However, as I'm always learning, I will never be able to turn back time and really be able to see that. I think it goes to show that depending on when you're there and depending on who's there with you, there are just so many different factors as to why some people pick up on some other people and some people do not. Just as in life, some spirits may feel more comfortable with some people than others.
And there's nothing about the history of this room that would, make us feel that way. But I've always interpreted this space kind of as a male space, even though historically the master bedroom, this bedroom would have been a female space. I've always interpreted the energy I get here and the uncomfortable with a male presence. And it seemed the guests who mentioned, oh, who's that gentleman sitting? Or the guests who recently just came out and told us about the pictures, always mentioned that it was a man, kind of, for me, kind of actually brought me, I'm less uncomfortable now knowing that than I was not knowing. Once I realized, oh, okay, it was a male energy. Oh, they are seeing him. Now I'm more at peace with this room than I ever was before.
I've always associated the male energies as two different people.
Mm-hmm.
Like the one in the entrance hall, again, delightful, very welcoming, kind of like the host. This one I've always felt like this is very much his home. This is my home.
Something that I think is important to note is that Jay and I have taken the Burgwin-Wright tour more than a few times. However, the last time we had been in this room was over a year ago, and neither of us remembered who stayed in it or what their significance was. While I did not pick up on the male figure that has been seen in this room, I did certainly pick up on the male figure in particular that has been seen out in the hallway and felt. I was a little confused at the time as far as the difference between the two of them when it was being explained. However, I did note at the very beginning that there was the feeling of a female presence, not just one, but two, and a very strong female presence. And it was only after having talked to the two of them and having them tell us a bit more about the history of the room that we found out that it would have been traditionally used by women.
Why was the master bedroom typically used by women specifically during this time period?
Well, this was a room where they would do their sewing. If you were married, you didn't have to go down to breakfast with the rest of the family. You could have breakfast here. You would do your letter writing. Something that we don't think about with the modern audience is the master bedroom was a very public space for other women who would visit you. This is where you would have your tea together. You would actually go into the formal parlor if this was maybe your sister, your girlfriend. So it was more of a female space. And it's interesting because
I'd like to say something. No.
Yeah.
I'd like to say something. No.
May I say no? Like it's just.
May I say no? Like it's just. It's almost like replaying.
And I think that tension and energy that kind of.
And I think that tension, that energy that kind of, over time is just sort of.
Yeah, when we come back here, we'll talk more.
Yeah, when we come back here, we'll talk more.
I did this for myself. Who are these energies? Who do I associate it with? And it's funny, you said it's this room. There's one particular family member that I always associate this room with. He happens to be a man. He would have been the only person who was born in this room. And that we know passed away while being the owner of this house. He's the only person who would have been born, lived the entirety of his house. His wife would have buried children in this room, all 8 of them. I always feel like I'm intruding. It's not like this is what's left of his home. This is the only space that he feels you've taken over everything else. This is my space. Get out. Like, give me my privacy.
Yeah.
You're intruding. That's what I've always felt. Like I'm an intruder in this space.
In this particular room, and I'm not feeling it as strongly as before. I'm not sure why that is, and maybe it's just, spirits move on. They're not here 100%, right? They can go and then they can come back. I got the feeling of an elderly woman who was being taken care of by a younger woman. And I feel like there was some kind of familial tie there. I don't know if perhaps she died first and she stayed behind and then the elderly woman stayed behind. The thing is though, all of this information, and I fully recognize this, could have been anybody. And I do get the sense, and this is before hearing like these other stories, when I first walked in here, it was very much like this kind of full energy of this is my room.
But I also got, and Jay got this on camera too, I got this sense that the younger woman was more open to speaking, like more open to saying like, hello. The older woman was more like, no. So I wonder if that kind of build up over time, that two very different kinds of people being in the same place, one person trying to reach out, the other one saying no, how that could kind of create that kind of cloud of thickness over time.
The other thing is we can't deny the fact that there was enslaved people here.
Mm-hmm.
And so your caretaker could have been somebody who's enslaved, a young woman who's enslaved and who's more willing to reach out because she's not bound to the house the same way somebody who owned not only this enslaved person, but the home.
Mm-hmm.
So that's interesting. It could be a variety of dynamics, historically speaking, to one's willingness to speak versus the other one being more reserved.
Mm-hmm. What the general feel is of us like actually standing up here and talking about this, like how often does that happen? Like, of course, the historical value of it, you come up, you do tours and that sort of thing, but for them, the spirits that are still kind of hanging out here, I wonder what it's like for them to really, actually be talked about at a time, like right now.
We've never had these discussions in this room. No. We don't linger in this room.
Yeah.
It's, for me, I don't know about you, but for me, it's never, I'm not welcome, this is negative energy. It's just, I'm intruding and I want to be respectful and I'm good.
Yeah.
The only energy that I will say, and I think you may have a consensus, is the back stairway. That one is very clear, that energy. It's funny, we disagree on the gender, but we also have to think about our own biases, and our own experience could reflect, why we perceive it differently in terms of gender.
Yeah.
We tend to try to humanize in the sense of, like, we try to assign a gender and a story, maybe a person that we can maybe connect with on a historical and understand. Because we work here and we have to cohabitate in this space. So I don't know if that's why I do it. You don't do it as much, but I try to be like, okay, who could it be? Why are they feeling this way?
Yeah. The ladies I mentioned earlier who I brought on tour just a few weeks ago came in and they said, whoa. I mean, they instantly did feel a very, not menacing, not get out. It was very much a, like, you're in my space. I mean, they described pretty much the exact same thing you did, as far as, this is my space, what are you doing here? And they were like, we don't mean to intrude. So, and as for me, I mean, the back hallway for me just feels almost feminine, but it is a menacing, it is an angry, and that's at least how I perceive it. It's an angry feeling back there. It's easier to talk about because we're used to talking about people, especially as historians. We're used to talking about people and entities and
in the space,
in the space, and kind of transferring that to something that's spiritual or paranormal is sometimes difficult because we want to have a story to put in context, and that's just something we naturally. That's how we label and relate as humans. So it's easier to do that, even if we're not always right.
This come to term, I will make sure that when I'm on tour, I don't dilly-dally in this room. I will respect this is the room, but I still have to interpret it for the guests. I just feel like it's like I don't know, I feel more understanding, and maybe seeking a little forgiveness for intruding. I don't know.
I'm actually, for this particular room, and I would actually like to take the stairs down, if that's okay with our timing. But this particular room, I'm getting almost the sense of, have you seen the movie The Others with Nicole Kidman?
A long time ago.
Yeah, but the concept of some spirits they're fine in their time and they're fine living in their time. And imagine if the veil were pulled from you and all of a sudden you see like these futuristic beings, right? So I think the sense that I'm getting right now is actually it's good to occasionally, when you're feeling comfortable, to open that discussion in this room. Just to say, hey, we're here, you're here. Sometimes spirits, they're okay with being passed on, like as far as physically speaking, but they forget. So sometimes that light reminder of, hey, we're all spirits in a space together, can be good. It can actually offer some resolution. Because some spirits will actively, they want to stay behind. And the sense that I'm getting here is they want to stay behind. This is their comfort. It's uncomfortable though when they forget what time period they were from. And a tour walks in and they're like, whoa, all these people. You know what I mean? Once again, it's not necessarily menacing. It's almost just like, hey, I'm in my night clothes. Whoa, like, whoa. Or, something like that. I'm taking my medicine. And who are these people? So I think that's something just to keep in mind for the future. Maybe just have a light discussion now and then. Maybe the ghost tours can help that, just say, hey, we recognize that you're here. And that's fine, we can all cohabitate.
Thank you for watching. A sneak peek into the next episode is coming your way.
But first, a few announcements.
Did you know that we're now traveling and making videos full time?
Oh, cool.
But did you also know it's because we're unemployed due to the pandemic?
Not as cool.
If you're interested in our videos, please consider giving to our gas, food, and fixins fund.
We're on Venmo, PayPal, Patreon. All those links are below.
Those on Patreon have got so many cool perks and goodies coming your way.
And some of you already have your initials and names on our bus. Again, info below.
Thanks for keeping us rolling during these crazy times.
We hope to see you back soon.
There's a space that all my employees seems to have an aversion to.
We were actually the site of the first city jail.
I heard somebody coming down the last 2 steps.
It definitely caught a silhouette on the stair landings.
The feeling I'm getting is there is a way that things are done.